G'day mate, Simon, VA7BIX. Alrighty, today we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to do a POTA 101, and that's basically how I set up my bag, what I take to the park, how I make contacts, the antenna I use, how I do my logging from start to finish. And anybody that's starting out, have any questions, shoot me an email to here, va7bix@gmail.com, and let's get on with the show. Okay, one of the first things that I do in my shack before I leave is I just look at my old trusty charger here that's falling apart. It's traveled a lot, but I see that green light, and that green light tells me that the battery is charged. So we're good to go. Alrighty, well now we know that the battery is charged. Just wanted to give you a quick rundown of the size that I like. I like the 18 amp hour because I know I can run pretty much at least 3 hours of solid transmitting 100 watts on sideband without any issues. And as far as the connectors go, you've got your standard little posts here, and there are two ways to do it. You can either use these. I find this a bit of a risky way because they can fall off. My eyesight's not the greatest, and the other issue you can have with these is that sometimes if it's dark, you might actually cross the polarity and put the negative to the positive and the positive to the negative. So the other alternative, which is fantastic, is to make up yourself one of these, which is just the female receivers with heat shrink of positive and negative, and you could even just use ordinary color-coded tape. And on the end of that, we've got the old Anderson poles. Now, what's great about the Anderson poles, and they're the best for a reason, is you cannot cross the polarity. So you cannot put that black into the red, and you cannot put that red into the black. Basically, you have to have the polarity right. So even if you can't see, there's no way you can screw it up and put one into one that you shouldn't and the other into another that you shouldn't. So anyway, so that's the connector system that I would recommend. But if you're just starting out, there's no reason why you can't just get your alligator clips onto that. And you do want to make sure they're fused, because if they're not fused, you could end up blowing your radio. Well, while we're at it, I'm going to show you my little to-go kit here. Speaking of fuses. So I take this with me with every activation, and literally it's an old sunglasses case. So inside here, I've got the female to female PL259 or SO239 connector. I've got the BNC to PL259, and always got these on hand, guys, in case you do cross the polarity. You've got spare fuses. So these are just 30 amp fuses. I got these at Canadian Tire. In the US, you could just go to any auto shop and get some of these radio fuses. I've got a spare insulator that you never know when you might need that. Always got a pen, and I've got this little screwdriver. Originally was for a clarinet and a saxophone, but I take that because then I can adjust the length of the hamstick whip, and you never know when you might need one of these. But anyway, there's my little to-go kit, and there's another insulator there. Okay guys, well now you've sort of got it pieced together, you get out to the garage, that's where I leave my antenna and coax anyway, and you put it all on the ground in front of you, do a quick check that you've got everything, and then we head off to the park. So let's have a quick look what we've got here in our grab and go kit. Alrighty, well the most important thing obviously is the antenna. So I'm using the Verti-tenna for today's deployment. I will do one in a few weeks on a mag mount with the hamstick for winter activations, which are very good. But right now, I think what we all want to do is be outside enjoying the beautiful fresh air and sunshine and spring and summer in North America. So there we are. I've got the antenna system, so I know that that's all good. There's the whip. You don't want to forget that. There's the radio. I know the radio's there, that's good. There's the microphone, very important. There's the power cord. There's the battery with the connectors. And here we have 2 reams of coax. Not 1, 2. 2 equals 1, 1 equals none. So just in case I get to the park and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this coax is faulty, I've got another one. And on the end of here, you'll notice I've also got this RFI choke. made by Palomar Engineering. That's only about $27. It's beautifully wound around this toroid. But you can also do it, guys, with 8 to 10 turns, about 2 to 3 inches in diameter with this, and that's what I did in Australia. What I'd also suggest when you're starting out is paper log. We're going to then enter that into Hammers, HAMRS, which is free software. And the good thing about it is you can pause the time and go back in days to the UTC of the time of your logging. And notice here I've got 2 pens because I've been down to a park too and noticed, oh no, the pen doesn't work. And finally, my little bag of tricks with spare barrels and connectors. Alrighty, so I'll have a quick look at that and go, yep, that's a good quick deployment. We're going to sit at a park bench today and we're going to make some contacts, and let's go and do a POTA activation, and we'll play it out like it's our first ever activation. How exciting. Alrighty guys, so now we're walking down to the park, my favourite park, VE5539. And before we get set up, I want to make a couple of assumptions here. I want to assume that you've got a radio, a 100-watt radio. I want to assume that it has a clock built into the display, which is very, very handy, and you'll see why in a second. I want to make an assumption that you have a smartphone and that you know how to get on the internet and go to the POTA website, and I want to make an assumption that you've got an antenna. We're basing our little education video on POTA 101 based on those assumptions, and here we are. I've found a little park bench. And if you can find one of these, it's great. Then you don't need to bring a table and chair. And we're going to get set up and we'll walk through step by step. And hopefully we can make some contacts. All right, guys. All right, we're going to set up the antenna. So the assumption is you've got some sort of ground spike and a vertical whip. If you don't, that's totally fine. You could have a dipole, inverted V, a random wire. You could have an end-fed half wave, whatever your antenna is. Let's assume all things are remaining equal, and this is about just simple deployment, getting on the air and playing POTA 101. So the antenna I'm using, guys, is the thing I just raffled off. This is the Verti tenor. Basically, there's your ground spike, and there are your counterpoises, and here's the whip. One of the things that I would typically do, let's assume I haven't been here before. I'm going to go into my compass and find out where east and south is. So that's east. So I want to be, because I'm in the northwest of the continent in British Columbia, that a majority of my signals are going to come from south all the way to southeast, possibly east. So I'm going to have, this one is pretty omnidirectional. So I think what I'd probably do is have, because they're 180 degrees, is I want the lobes to be going east, southeast. So I'm going to have one lobe coming over here to sort of southeast and the other going off to northwest for this particular antenna system. But if you're using Greg KJ6ER, g'day Greg mate, if you're using his Predator, former Predator, now it's the Performer, you want the radials at 90 degrees perpendicular. So in the instance of where I am, you would have one at south and one at east, which means that they're going to get a majority of the radiation signal radiating off in that direction. This is really fun, guys. When you're laying down ground radials, typically you always want to make sure that the coax coming back to the radio is 90 degrees perpendicular to the radials. So I've got 3 ELMERS, guys. 3 ELMERS that I really, truly want to thank for getting me into POTA. And originally ham radio in the first instance. The greatest ELMER to me is Mike, Burnaby Radio. Brother, thanks Mike for everything. I've known you for 20 years. You continue to give me incredible support, and you're so generous with your time. And for that, brother, thank you so much. You're amazing. And Canadians, please, burnabyradio.com, and send Mike an email, sales@burnabyradio.com, for prices on anything. Support the little guy. Come on, guys. Mike's the guy. The other 2 ELMERS, POTA ELMERS. First one is Mike, K8MRD. Mike, amazing videos, buddy. You single-handedly got me into POTA, so thank you for that. And to this day, I love watching your videos. You're a true inspiration. And the other guy that I've got to know really well, although I've never actually physically shaken him by the hand, is Charlie, Whiskey 7 Romeo Tango Alpha.
you've been a huge inspiration to me, Charlie, and continue to do so, mate. Charlie also works on the help desk at POTA. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's like me, loves experimenting with antennas, and you're a great mate. I love you, Charlie. Good on you. Please, if you feel free to join the Discord. We'd love to have you. It's a lot of fun. Great guys, and yeah, we share the love of ham radio. And I've learned so much, and I continue to learn so much from those guys that are much smarter than me. And so that's a great way to get involved with a POTA community of guys that have already done it and experienced, have that intrinsic experience, and can tell you, pretty much answer any question, whether it's digital, voice, FM, AM, CW, POTA, SOTA. But anyway, join the Discord. That's a great way to learn and continue to learn. And we all help each other, and lots of fun stuff. We even talk about barbecue and barbecue recipes, and we even evaluate beer occasionally.
Hey guys, well thanks for watching. That's the end of series 1, and it was when I started piecing it together, I'm like, ooh, I don't think I can get this into a 12 to 15 minute video. So I thought I'd make it look more like a vlog with 3 or 4 in the series. So stay tuned for the next couple, which will be coming in the next few days, and hopefully you picked up something. It's been a lot of fun doing this, I gotta say. And the guys out there, whether you're in Australia with your foundation license, can only run 10 watts, or QRP guys all over the world, I'm going to do a series on resonant antennas and low power QRP like the 705. But anyway, thanks guys. Thanks so much for watching, and please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next in the series. Woohoo! POTA 101.